Here we are again for the Ben and Gary Show. We know dentistry, and we're here to be able to bring you our knowledge from your questions, to be able to answer them for you, so you understand a little bit more about what's going on with dentistry. And sometimes it can be confusing. We're here to kind of just simplify things here. So one of the subjects that we got questions about here was what are these flexible partials?
Right.
I can't really say we do a ton of those here, but I think they have their place when it's appropriate.
Right.
I think maybe to describe a little bit about what they are is to understand maybe like what is it a regular partial?
What is a partial denture?
What is a partial denture? A partial denture are a set of teeth that are removable, that replace missing teeth in areas where, say, a bridge is not something impossible to do, or the cost for a bridge was something that was not necessarily in the budget. So partials often will removable partials will often be less than what it would cost to replace with fixed teeth. Therefore, they are often chosen by individuals who, just wouldn't necessarily want to go with that route of having a fixed bridge.
So it replaces several teeth or multiple teeth, but it can also replace a section, such as, say, 4 missing front teeth.
Right.
And a couple towards the back. So if you have multiple areas where you're missing teeth, sometimes this is a good solution. But a typical partial denture has a metal framework and typically some flat clasps that will help to retain it on teeth.
Yeah, really, it must have to, the key factor on retaining how it stays in is, like Gary was saying, is that they use these metal clasps that hook around your natural teeth and allow it to be able to stay stable in your mouth, and also use the areas where the teeth are not present. And a lot of times, say for instance, if it's in the upper jaw, they use the hard palate, as a way to be able to brace it, and the clasping mechanisms will keep it in place. And it does replace teeth, and a lot of people do use them. I'd say that it's probably not the most desirable option that most of our patients select, just because you do have to take it in and out, and it reminds you of just kind of having a denture, like a plate, and older style technology, and just sort of feels foreign in your mouth many times. But there are individuals that do feel like can adapt to them.
Right. So one of the downsides to having a partial denture is that it doesn't stimulate the bone, so the bone underneath where you're missing the teeth can often resorb.
Shrink away.
And the other is the clasps that hold the partial in place can sometimes show.
Yeah.
And that's
especially if they're silver or metal, nobody really wants a hook. What is that hook around your tooth there? Is not necessarily what people want to feel very self-conscious about.
Right. So with these flexible
an alternative
dentures,
to having something metal.
Right.
Yeah.
So there is no metal, right?
There really isn't any metal in it, and often the clasps can be matched to make a similar color as the natural tooth, and so that those clasps are still present, but they're more masked.
Right.
And so they're often looked at as being, since there is some flexibility to them to adapt to certain situations there where it just maybe might feel more comfortable to a patient. Many times that can be the case, but I have to say that often if there is a large swath of teeth that are missing, having something that's going to have a more flexibility to it is probably not the most desirable thing that you want, because it doesn't magnify the flexibility of that partial, and magnifies the odd sort of feeling, and often leads to the partial not being very stable in a patient's mouth. So I do feel like there is an alternative out there called these flexible partials if you don't want anything metal in your mouth. I totally get that. But there are some advantages, but there are also some disadvantages, as we mentioned there, in terms of it just not maybe being as stable as perhaps a more traditional type of partial denture would be. So it's not necessarily it's the thing that I would prefer to have here, but it's certainly an option.
It has its place.
It has its place.
Yeah,
correct.
I guess it is lighter and more flexible. So, like you said, it in some cases maybe more comfortable.
Yeah, it could be more comfortable. Now, I guess another one of the drawbacks, though, in relation to a traditional partial is that nothing in life is static and stays the same.
Right.
And the partial dentures and people's dentitions or teeth is nothing different about that. So a lot of times partials are done because, well, there maybe not enough teeth to be able to do a fixed bridge, which
Right.
this one definitely kind of puts you into a category of being kind of compromised, which means you might lose another tooth later on down the line, which many times we can design the partials to be serviceable throughout that period of time to just simply add a tooth on.
Right.
Flexible partial,
Yeah.
no adding on.
Right.
It's basically a new flexible partial. So there can be some cost downsides to that, and ultimately, obviously, you want to maintain your teeth and keep your teeth for life. But some people it's not in their cards,
Right.
so they may lose a tooth. And with traditional partial, often we can add a tooth on or design it in advance of, so that when you do lose a highly questionable tooth that we're holding on for now, perhaps lose it later, we'll add it to the partial.
Yeah.
Flexibles, you can't do that.
Yeah, we can plan for that.
Correct.
So.
Correct. Another thing on it too, I guess, as you mentioned, is the bone that's in the place where you're missing the teeth
Right.
can often shrink away with a partial and any kind of partial.
Yes.
Many times we need to, over the years, because the space a gap might show up between the underside of the partial
Right.
and the gum tissue, which then makes it, guess what, more flexible and more movement happens.
Right.
We do what's called a reline, which essentially is a new surface on the underside of it there, so to make up for that gap.
Yeah.
Again, with a flexible partial, can't do that. And so again, it's a matter of getting another partial. So, it's great at first, but as life goes on and things may happen and change in your mouth, the partial is not going to change along with it, and we can't really add on to it. So it's basically a new partial for you.
Yeah. That's it.
C'est la vie, that's the way it goes. I think that these do provide an option for you if you don't want something metal in your mouth and you want something to be hidden. They might be great for on an interim basis, long
Right.
term.
Right.
I have some questions about that.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
these are the downsides. These are the pluses. We're the Ben and Gary Show. We know dentistry.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.